Greetings, everyone. I'm excited to bring you my newest iteration of a Leela Patel deck. Now, I know you're sick and tired of seeing me playing Leela every single time, but I think this is the best compromise between making a creative deck and making a competitive deck. Um, Along that spectrum, the best way to sit in the middle is to play Leela because Leela is very good in the current meta and she has a lot of potential for experimentation at the same time. So, this leader deck is very special because it uses basically almost every part of the deck is not conventional, not something you expect. Firstly, the breakers, Corroder and Mimic are standard. Rex is standard, but what I'm departing from is that I'm using Switchblade with silencers and a Ghost Runner instead of your traditional ninja or fairy. Usually it's 3 times fairy, but here I'm using Switchblade. R&D digging is also different. Instead of under interfaces, indexing, maker's eye, I'm going for the medium. Now, medium proves to be a very strong card in Worlds. It managed to win an Andromeda 1 game, I remember. So, yes, medium has a lot of potential. I'm going to try it. Lucky finds for economy. I'm using a lot of burst economy. Every economy card, daily cast, show gamble, dirty laundry, you name it. There's a lot of card draw to go with the economy, and that's the combo. It's like prepaid kit. You draw more cards, you gain more money. So that's why I keep this hand. It's a short gamble into a Earthrise Hotel. I'm definitely going to play both cards in my first turn. I paused a little there because I drew into a Katie Jones. I was thinking whether to load Katie Jones on first turn or play the Earthrise. But ultimately, because I have a lot of economy cards, burst economy cards, I want the Earthrise Hotel out. Earthrise draws me into Switchblade and Logos. Now this is NBN making news, so I have to be careful about the flatline. Beware of Scorched Earth and Data Raven, all that stuff. So I access his HQ, he does not res, a very smart choice by him, and I see a lag time. Very interesting. Lag time, so he's probably running some very taxing ice, and it's only going to become more taxing once lag time comes out. But it makes me wonder why he doesn't run Manhunt instead. Alright, so I install the Silencer after hitting Katie Jones. Okay, a bit more about my deck. I use Logos instead of Desperado because I'm not actually intending to run as often as your typical Leela Patel. Most people advocate playing lots of Siphons and Maker's Eye to treasure early on with Sneak Door. I'm not doing that. I'm going for a slower win, one that grinds the corp out, and they cannot afford to play fast against me because if they do, they'll erode their central defenses with Leader's ability, and that gives me windows to siphon them for real. Because I still do run a Count Siphon. I draw into a Corroder, which is definitely something I want to see. Usually people place end the run barriers like wraparound on HQ. So they think they're safe from Siphon. Well, I can attempt a blind Siphon here, but I don't think that's in my best interest because I'm so poor I can't even install my Corroder. So, since my Earthrise has just ran out, I'm going to install a new one. That takes priority. This deck would rather go to the late game than pressure the early game and make too many unnecessary risks. With Switchblade, you can easily threaten late game without spending too much money on breaking servers. And Lucky Finds, like the one I'm playing here, easily boost me up to a good credit level. So right now, I'm not that afraid. I'm pretty sure that the remote that is defended right now in his remote server is a Sansan City Grid. I'm not afraid of that because if he attempts to score an Astro Script here, I'm going to bounce his HQ Eyes and he'll get siphoned immediately. That is completely worth it. Once he's siphoned, I can place a lot of pressure and I get to tutor a card with Logos. So here, I basically install everything from my hand because I do not want to have to discard at the end of the turn. That's one of the limitations you play around when you play Earthrise Hotel. Because you draw 2 cards every turn, it's like outside. You want to get rid of your cards. You don't want them to go in the bin. That's a waste. And then I trash his pet campaign, which allows me to draw 1 card and basically hamper his asset economy. I do not want him to get too much asset economy off because Sea Scorch is a real thing and I haven't found my plus street yet. So hopefully he scores an agenda for me and it looks like he's about to because that card that he plays in the remote is double advanced. So it's probably a Sansan and a double advanced card. He's doing something smart here. He's denying my ability. It's probably a 3 or 4 pointer agenda that once he scores, I bounce a card and ice off, he can reinstall that ice. So I cannot afford to let him get the agenda off, so I attempt a deck work right here. Hopefully he doesn't run any trashing sentries, but here my goal is to get an agenda. If I do score an agenda at this point, I will be able to bounce his agenda and waste all his effort in installing and double advancing. Unfortunately, I run into a sentry, so I get traced. Can't do anything about that. Even the switchblade wouldn't have saved me here because I only have one silencer out. Although I should have played, it's very hard to tell that that was a sentry. He didn't res it at first, so you wouldn't think it's a Caduceus. So he does let me through. He doesn't overpump the trace, so I do access a wall of static and 2 toll booths. Not something I want to see. I definitely wanted the agenda. So with nothing else to do for my turn, I can't even click Katie Jones because I unloaded her. I'll just play the Ghost Runner so that my Switchblade will be activated if I want come next turn. Alright, so he scores the Astral. The smart way, he double advances it, so I get to bounce his ice, but he can easily reinstall it the next with his next 2 clicks. So now I dig for a card, and I decide to dig for the medium. This could be a mistake. What I should have dug for was the +3. Although him running Caduceus kind of lowers the possibility that he's actually running Scorched Earth, because Caduceus does cost 2 influence. So here, I basically make a Switchblade run into Siphon. This allows me to get quite a few credits up, and it's almost free to break with Switchblade. That's good news for me. He spends a lot of ice defending R&D, but I actually have the tools for sieging HQ. So a little mistake by him there, not guarding HQ enough. That allows me to exploit the Siphon. I obviously clear the tags thereafter, and force him to ice up HQ. So I have my entire breaker suite now, but like it or not, my economy still sucks. Even though I run Lucky Finds, daily casts, and all the money in the world, I still find myself short of money. A toll booth would definitely stop me cold right here, so I need to find a man with a plan to get into his servers and get some agendas. Ideally with a running medium. I want to install that medium, not enough money for it. So here I make a bold move. I rush his remote, thinking that there might be an Astro Script there. He doesn't want to fast advance the Astro Script because that leaves him vulnerable to Leela's ability. He probably wants to install it in the remote so that he can chain Astro Script and leave one click to reinstall ice. He only reses the Viper, which probably means that the agenda in there is irrelevant. It's not an agenda, it's an upgrade experiential data. +1 strength to all ice, protecting that server. Alright, so it's not a Scorch build, it's a very taxing build. He's running all the Trace Ice, and all the Trace Ice tend to be very high strength, and he's utilizing lag time and experiential data to make life hell for me. That's not good. I need to score an agenda ASAP so I can get rid of lag time, because it cost me a lot to break through his Viper. That was 4 credits and a Cerberus token. Okay. So here, I same old account Siphon. As I said, I needed the money, so that had to be done. He reses a Viper against me. I was thinking, should I let the Trace fire? I decided not to. I just broke everything that I could, and I still had 3 credits left over, so that's great. I cannot afford to let him fire the Trace because he's decently rich, and he has 2 Trace credits to pump, so it's definitely not worth it for me. So I just Siphon him, drawing a card with John Masnari again, installing the medium, and running out R&D because he's dirt poor. I decided to float tags because the chance of him running Scorched Earth is almost 0. Yeah, just look at all his ice, all of them cost influence. So yes, I'll just float the tags right now. Hopefully he doesn't trash my KD Jones, hopefully he doesn't close my accounts. But in any case, I need the medium token because I'm getting pretty desperate, and I do find the priority requisition. So he's running big ice, not your standard BU and NAPD suite. So he didn't trash my KT, which was a mistake. So I'm just going to load KT, and clear the tags immediately. This deck can go tag me, but it's usually not advisable. Even though there's Sure Gambles, Lucky Finds, and Dirty Laundries to pad my economy, they are all one-offs. Everything else like Daily Cast, KD Jones, and Security Testing require me to be untagged. So clearing tags is usually the right choice, especially in this game, which I expect to go on for quite a while. He's running Priority Rex, which means that his agenda density is probably very low. I'll have to make quite a few successful runs in order to get anywhere. So he shows me a toll booth, and I'm actually able to get through with no credits to spare. Just one more on my Ghost Runner. So that was very lucky that I managed to survive that run. And more importantly, I get to pump my medium to 2 counters. And I find the second priority rack off the second medium counter. So that was huge for me. Now here I make a mistake. I bounce the Sand. What I should have done was to bounce the Archives Ice. With my last click, I would then run Archives to force him to use Jackson. He has been using Jackson to somewhat great effect, and I should be contesting the Jackson because that means that he'll draw into more economy and more ice, which is never good news for me. So that was a mistake on my part. Not using Leela's ability to the fullest. But I'm still in a good position because I'm at match point and he is not. So I actually feel pretty comfortable. What this means is that I can actually afford to let him score 1 agenda. And actually I do want him to score 1 agenda because that means I can tutor something with logos and bounce one of his ice. So right now I'm just going to gather lots of money, wait for him to score an agenda, and then make the final push to the end. If he doesn't score an agenda, eventually KD Jones will overwhelm him and I'll be able to get my 3rd medium run. Hopefully that should seal the game. In the meantime, he continues icing up HQ, which is a wise choice because one of my the things I was planning to do was to run HQ, follow into an emergency shutdown toll booth. So now that's pretty hard, and because I don't run Sneak Door in this deck, the only defense I have is Femme Fatale, which requires a lot of money. So now it might seem like the right play here would be to play Lucky Find, but remember that I accessed and reversed the counts from his unguarded remote earlier. Playing Lucky Find here is suicidal. It will basically be nullified by reverse the counts, and I do not want that to happen. So I'm just going to store all my credits on KD Jones and hope that he cannot tag me with breaking news. That would be really sad. For now, I'll just slowly gain credits and play passively. So yeah, unlike most Leela decks, this is more of a war of attrition. I mean, you could play it as a war of attrition. I'm just going to, trade blows. You know when to attack, when to defend, and this is my defense time. I finally play my Lucky Find the next turn and trash his reverse accounts so he cannot reverse my accounts. Then I continue loading up KD Jones. And I draw into my 3rd silencer. I have 2 silencers installed now, so my dependency on Ghost Runner is no longer there. I can break 1 sentry each turn. So so that's good enough. Alright, over to me. I continue gaining credits while he continues playing very passively. He's not trying to score agendas at all. I'm not sure what he's doing right here, but I like that because he's not placing any pressure on me at all. And because of this, I now have 22 credits. 12 on KT, 10 on my in my bank. It's time to attack. I play the Fem and I run his server. I should be able to get through. It's a double toll booth, which is painful, but at least one of them can be bypassed. So I still have a good number of credits remaining at the end of the run. I'll need to find a way to deal with the second toll booth, but at least I'm going to make it through. With 3 credits to spare, I can access 3 cards. The first is a Utopia Fragment that closes the game. So I did get lucky with my runs. Every single R&D run netted me an agenda, and that is something to say considering that he's running a low agenda density with so many 3-pointers. I think Leela's ability is absolutely amazing and one which I have underrated far too much. Against fast advanced decks, like this deck does have an option for fast advance in the form of Astro Script, he has to think twice about doing so, because if he does chain Astro Scripts, he will give me he will enable my logos and my ability, which means that his servers will become more porous and I can tutor for whatever I want. The important thing here is that logos actually acts like a Desperado in the sense that I can tutor for Lucky Find if I need the money. And if he was chaining Astros here, I would probably have tutored the Lucky Find so that I would get to my Fem installation that much faster with more money. So yes, the logos Leela interaction is pretty real. I like it quite a bit. And I guess it's not so much the synergy between the two. There's not much synergy to be perfectly... I mean, okay, there is some synergy, but the main thing is that Logos works very well in this meta where everyone's playing NBN and Jinteki. And Leela also is very good against Jinteki. So this deck is not so much NBN Fast Advance as it is Glacier. But against Glacier, Leela still works, because if you attempt to score something in a remote, and your centrals are not well defended enough, Leela will simply seize your centrals and bounce your scoring agenda back into your hand. That could be disastrous, and I nearly managed to accomplish that with his first Astro Script. Well, so yes, Leela has a lot of potential, and is one of my primary considerations for runner choice in the next store championships. I'll be testing out various iterations of her, so do stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Happy night running. Goodbye.